This is a kind of a series that I have written down. I've written this down 7 years ago, and I have what I refer to as the Soriano Truths. It was like hashtag Soriano Truths, and I'm riding down the West Side Highway on my way to Brooklyn, and I'm thinking that I have actually Silk playing, and Silk is playing, and I started to like shout out the words, like almost to the point where where a singer would not be able to perform the next day. Still kind of in tune, but just very raspy and very loud expression of the song, and I don't know what that was about. And then it triggered some of the Soriano truth, and it seems like something about that song, something about that time, or maybe just something about the way I was singing that song. It reminded me of, I don't even know how to start the story. Maybe I'll start it from the beginning. And the story is, I was about 7 years old. That's the first number that's come to my head, so I'm going to stick with it. And my mother had a Mickey Mouse spoon and a Donald Duck fork. And regular spoon, the top of the spoon, Donald Duck fork. And I'm going to ignore this. And the story is basically that that phone call totally distracted me, making my mind is saying, no, you don't have to tell the story now. Just let it go. Just leave it alone. Just stop right now. You wrote it down already. Just don't worry about it. But you know what? Let me tell this story, and I'm gonna try to be quick with it. I don't want this to be drawn out, if that's even possible. But I feel a sense of like anger. I feel a sense of like thinking about this story. So I was 7 years old. My mother was cooking pancakes, and they weren't her legendary blueberry pancakes. They were just regular pancakes. And my mother had stepped out of the room, and I took the pancake that I didn't want to eat after pleading with my brother to eat my pancake, which he never did. He was like, no, I don't want your pancake. And mind you, at this time in his life, he would eat anything he would eat. I don't think he's like that anymore, but at that time he did. But this particular time, it was a gamble. Sometimes he would eat my food and sometimes he wouldn't, but I was on the not wanting to eat food. I didn't eat. When I was a young kid like that, I went, I could go the whole day and only, I would eat a grapefruit, or half of the grapefruit, I didn't need, I just wasn't my thing, eating at a young age. And my mother was very insistent that I eat. I remember times where my mom would have me sitting at the table, and I would just sit there and just wait, and and my mom, she would not let me get off the table until I ate everything. And the food would be freezing cold. I remember that. Very cold food. And I would be there for hours until I fell asleep at the table. And then my mother would pick me up, and, she would bring me into the bedroom and very lovingly put me in the bed and cover me up and kiss me on my forehead and tell me she loved me. She did that. So there were times where I ate the food and times where I didn't. This particular time, I took the pancake and threw it out the window. My mother comes into the room and she's like, "Where's your pancake?" And I said to my mother, "I ate it." And my mother said, "No, you didn't. You didn't eat the pancake. Where's the pancake?" I said, "I ate the pancake." And my mother said, Stop lying to me. Stop lying to me. You little bastard. And my mother took that Mickey Mouse spoon and she put it on the stove. And she heated up the stove, the Mickey Mouse spoon, on top of the burning flame. And my mother, I was shirtless at the time, sitting at the table with no shirt on, not wanting to eat. Threw the pancake out the window. Mind you, this was the backyard. There was a fire escape there. I don't even know if it cleared the fire escape. She might have been looking at the pancake the whole time. That part I don't know. She might have been looking right at the pancake on the fire escape, asking me, where's the pancake? And I told her I ate the pancake. So my mother slams me down to the ground in the kitchen next to my brother. He's to the right of me. I can see his legs. My mother now sits on top of me, grabs me by my neck, and she's choking me, telling me, where's your pancake, you little bastard? And I said I ate it. So my mother takes the Mickey Mouse spoon off the stove, shakes it in the air, and I'm looking at it, and I'm watching this spoon go back and forth. And I'm crying, screaming. I ate it. So my mother proceeds to burn my mouth with that spoon. And she said every time, where's your pancake, you little bastard? What happened to your pancake? And I answered her, I ate it. My mother burnt my whole entire mouth, top to bottom. Burnt me over 10 times, put that thing back up on the stove. Waved it in front of me, probably trying to cool it off. I remember my mouth was swollen for like 3-4 days. I remember the liquid that came out of those bubbles that was all around my lips. I remember the taste of that liquid. That night, laying in the bed. We fast forward now. I'm 15 years old. I'm a homeless kid in New York City, running the streets of New York City at this point. Sleeping on the A train, sleeping inside of the, what is that called? I'm sleeping inside of the theater houses at the time. This is when 42nd Street was like a bomb went off over there. And you were able to sneak into these theaters and sleep in the theaters. And I met this guy. His name was Chucky. And let me tell you, I have no ill will towards Chucky. If I ever see Chucky again, I'll say hi, what's up? Give him a pound. And this guy Chucky had blonde hair. And his whole little afro, he's a very dark-skinned guy. And he had blonde hair. And this is before anyone I ever seen do it. And he had muscles. At the time, he was like a massive giant to me. Like just a guy. I remember when I first met the dude, he had 2 beepers on his belt. And no, this is when I was 14 then. This is not 15. I'm 14 now. This is 14 years old. And he had these 2 beepers on his belt. And I was like, yo, what are those? You got 2 beepers? And then he pressed the vibrate button and rubbed it right on my face and on my neck. And I was like, whoa! He's like, yeah. And he put them down. And he picked one of them up and he was looking through it. And then he picked the other one up. And I was very fascinated by this guy. We got a dark-skinned ADOS black man with blonde hair. And he was muscular, very, very aggressive. Also a homosexual. Openly homosexual, openly gangster, openly tough guy. In my mind. But I guess it's easy to be a tough guy to a 14-year-old kid who was living in the church most of his life. Or at least, the last 3 years of his life, 4 years of his life. And we were hanging out. And this guy was selling drugs in the clubs. Like all the top gay clubs in New York, this guy knew everybody. Could get in, never had to worry about a line, never had to worry about paying. And he was selling cocaine. And, I was drug free. I always said no to drugs. I never tried anything. But he was like, I want you to hang with me. I want you to be part of my entourage. And I remember saying to myself, what the hell is an entourage? What is that? And he wanted me to be part of his entourage. And he had a couple of people that he would have always around him. And they would come to his house and they would meet up, get dressed, and go out to the clubs. And while he was in the clubs, he was making money. And part of his entourage was just following him around the clubs while he was hustling coke, which was to all of these white, soap opera stars and music, all these people. He was out there. Like I remember when I was in this little bubble with this guy, like in this little moment in time in my life, I was sitting next to RuPaul, who was not in drag, and I was sitting next to Madonna. Okay, and it was like there's all these people, and everyone knew this guy and was afraid of him. And the rumor was that I find out later on that the guys, he had nothing but trash, and that they would only buy from him because of his intimidation tactics. This guy looked like Wesley Snipes in that movie Demolition Man, and was openly homosexual and was like, yo, look what I got, you gotta buy. And they were like, okay, and they bought it. So I wanted to be down with this dude. I was like, yo, this right here looks like I can make me some money doing, hanging with this guy. So he said, yo, how much you want to hang with me? I said, $100 a day. I'll be part of your entourage, And I looked like muscle, I guess, at the time. And In my mind, I thought I did. In my mind, I was just ready to, find out what's going on. You don't want to sleep on the streets, So it looked very shiny. It looked very much like gold. And what happened was, well, let me see. How do I explain this? I got distracted. Sorry. One particular day after hanging out with him, and he always paid me, always gave me $100 a night. Always. And we would go to like 5 different clubs throughout the night. And I was one of like 2 other people. And then it was cool because we used to bring the women with us. So it'll be like him, myself, 2 other guys, and I would always snatch up a girl. And one of the guys that was with us would snatch up a girl too. Because this guy brought in that kind of energy. He brought in that kind of feeling. Everybody was like, yo, what's up with this dude? What's he doing? So he understood that. He was smart. And another thing that happened during this period was he developed not a cocaine habit. He developed a crack habit, which was unbeknownst to me. I didn't even know. I knew what crack was and crackheads were, but this guy was nothing like what you would think a crackhead would be like. And I saw him smoking the pipe when he was home. So he would go home and smoke the pipe while out. And, around that time, I would take him home. We would all take him home after mind you, we would go to these places called, I remember it was like Save the Robots. And that was the club, the whole floor of the club, the top level was all sand. And then you go downstairs. I remember one time I went downstairs and boom, who was standing there? Janet Jackson. She was there with the biggest man I ever seen in my life. I was like, oh my God. And he was looking at everybody like, be careful. Be careful. Be careful. And I was like, whoa. I was just so happy. And that was the first time I saw the DJ had 2 turntables flat on the table. Then he had another 2 turntables that was floating on rubber bands. And then behind him he had another 2 turntables all going at the same time. It was like crazy land. And that's where he lived, like a block away from there. He lived off of East 6th Street. And I think the place, say the Robots, was like on Avenue B or something like that. But we would always end up there, and then I would walk him home. He already probably would give me my money. That's one of the things. He might have started off the day, boom, hitting me off with money. And that was probably another test. Everybody's always testing you. You go through your whole life being tested at all times. So, one particular day, we're at the house, and we're starting to get ready, and this guy is smoking that pipe, that glass pipe, just... And I was like, whoa. And I remember that smell coming off of that. Like, whoa, that was like a little different than when they put it in weed. The weed smell with the crack was totally different, which I saw everybody was doing that. Those were called woolers. And that to me wasn't that big of a deal. It was when you graduate to that pipe. That was like, whoa, this person is seriously having a problem. And just one particular day, I go to his house like I always did at a certain time, like maybe 6 p.m., 8 p.m., something like that. And we would chill in the crib for a little while. We would go uptown to Harlem. He would cop. And then he had this little tiny round little circular thing with a little like, it was like he called it a grinder. And he would cop these $20 bags of blow and put them in the grinder. And then he would have this big, huge thing of what I thought in my mind when I was a kid. I thought it was baby powder. I didn't know what it was. And he would take that and just grind it all together. He would take literally like a pinch of coke and add so much cut to it. It was like, oh my God, what the hell? But this is probably why they didn't want to buy it from him. But he forced them to buy it. And now we're dealing with a person who is aggressive, who is flamboyant, likes a lot of attention, and now is on crack. Not a good combination. And then we're doing drugs on top of that. Like, yeah, you're doing crack, but you're also drinking alcohol. At the time, I didn't drink alcohol. I didn't smoke marijuana. I definitely never touched cocaine. I was like, whoa, that, like, I bought into all the propaganda that was pushed on me all my life. I was like, no. I didn't try any of that stuff. So what happened was, he grabs me and trips me and slams me on the ground. I didn't even know what was happening. It wasn't like we were wrestling or, playing around or nothing like that. And he was like, and mind you, I was alone. This is like one of the few times I was alone, because a lot of times when I got there was always somebody there. This particular time I was alone with this dude. And he just swept my feet, slammed me on the floor. And I remember just being like, what are you doing? He sits on me. Now he lights up the crack pipe and he's going back and forth with that flame, and he's lighting the pipe, and he's like taking very small pulls from the pipe, and he's now saying to me, you think you better than me? You think you better than me? And he's like, you think you better than me? Who you think you are? You not better than me. And now this guy is sitting on me. And now he takes the pipe and puts it on my lips and burns my mouth. And it's like, take a pull. And he's like, you gonna take a pull? And I was like, no, stop. And I was like, screaming, like, I don't know if I was screaming, but, I couldn't even fight this dude. First of all, I was terrified of him, okay? Terrified of this guy. And he slammed me down to the ground, sat on my back, sat on my stomach, on my chest, held me down, and straight up burnt my mouth with that freaking crack pipe because I refused to smoke. And he was just in a rage about how better I think it is. And then right when it's like about to get like crazy, the door and the other two guys came in on some, what's going on? What y'all doing? And I was like, I might have been crying. I don't know if I was crying, but I don't remember crying. I honestly got to keep it real. I kind of don't really remember what happened after that. But I did see him again, and and he pays me. I remember that day when he burnt my mouth, he gave me 200 crispy dollar bills, $200 bills. And I remember that those 200, always, whenever he went uptown real quick, he would get he would use $100 bills. That was his thing. He was always with $100 bills. And he gave me, instead of giving me 20s like he normally would, like $100, he gave me 20s. He always gave me 20s. This particular day, before I left, my memory sets me right that he handed me $200 bills. And I remember having that, a little burnt mark in my lip. I don't think it was enough to blister my lip, but it was enough to, like, when something is hot on your freaking mouth. And I refused. So while driving, what started me pressing the record button was the fact that I was thinking about I was thinking about my son. That's what started this whole thing. And if he's gonna have, how's he gonna tackle life, when like things get rough, and am I preparing him properly? Because my mother totally prepared me for this guy. She totally prepared me for him. It's like that experience with her allowed me to say no to crack, maybe? I don't know. Like, did my mother slamming me on the ground, sitting on my chest, and burning my mouth, did that have something to do with when I later on in life, 14 years old, being slammed on the ground, and someone is trying to force me to smoke a crack pipe. A crack pipe. Did I just say crack pipe? What? A crack pipe. Come on. What are you doing? Drive. Let me see who's driving this weirdo driver. You're a scared driver, sir. He's giving me the look like, whatever. You're driving a shitty Murano, sir. Just go. You'll be all right. Not like you can resell that car. No resale value. Anyway, let me stop getting off topic. I don't want to be everywhere and all over the place. Soriano Truths. I will say this. What made me write the story down all those years ago, I was in Marshall's. And while in Marshall's, I saw a Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Minnie Mouse fork, knife, and spoon set. And just looking at that, I almost hyperventilated inside of a store. And I was already like 38 years old. 38-year-old man sees a Mickey Mouse spoon, a Donald Duck, and a Minnie Mouse fork, knife, and spoon set, and is almost brought down to his knees from the emotion and the feeling that thing it was a wave of, oh my God. It brought back every moment that I went through on that floor with my mother. I'm a 46-year-old man still suffering from that. This is why you can't beat your kids like that. This is why you can't abuse your children. It don't go away. And the only thing it prepares them for is more violence. And that's all she prepared me for, was a life of violence. Soriano Truth. Boom.